The neighborhood has changed a lot. Some things never change. The hardware store is still here, run by the same Vietnamese family for 30 years. They are some of our favorite people. We call it the Magic Store. We got a really good relationship with them. Things have come and gone over the last 3 decades. And some stuff is it adds to the neighborhood, and some things definitely detract, We used to have a Spanish nightclub here called Plaza Flamenco. I love these guys. They're not operating out of here anymore. There's nothing in this space anymore. COVID related. The Hideout was the last place in here. These guys walked away in the early part of the pandemic. They were smart to do so. Mars Diner across the street's been there for 50 years. They are open now, but who knows if they'll even survive any of this. As a block, we can't stand apart from other parts of this neighborhood. We're part of the fabric of the whole area, Kensington, Little Italy. Kensington Market's big, but we're a part of it. We've always been a part of this community. Neighborhoods change. This neighborhood resisted change for a long time. It took a pandemic to really shake things up. We'll see where it all ends up. That's my guy Simon. Love that guy. These first started, I can't even tell you what month because none of the original owners can tell you either because they don't remember, but it was 1987, early in the year. And the 3 Ds, the brothers, had a restaurant for years and years on Bloor Street that was a 24-hour diner. And it was sort of going out of style. Somebody came up with the idea of turning it into a Tex-Mex restaurant and having a live venue in the basement. And they thought it was ludicrous and crazy. And if it didn't work, it didn't work. And it was successful right away. 3 years later, we moved down to College and Bathurst. That was 30 years ago, moved to this location. I always feel more comfortable with people who claim that we're, a landmark, an institution. I never make those claims. So the people that say those things, I always have a preference that they probably have a better explanation than I have about it, because I never say those things. But I can speak to this, that we've been around for a long time. We have a very, very loyal customer base that's rooted very much in the fact that we really do have a love for people that come in here. This is our little dearly departed section. It's Big John. It's Al Johnston, and then a portrait of Big John. It was painted by a tattoo artist and in combination with a door guy that used to work here. Sadly, both of them went way before their time. They meant a lot to us. They spent a lot of time in this space. So it's only fitting that we have their memories committed to this space. We were allowed to grow at a time in Toronto when there was room for weird, quirky places to develop. That's going away. People have to really think about what's best for the culture of their city moving forward. I think that's a broader question that needs to be asked to the general population. And they have to be sort of given the facts, because a lot of people have a deep misunderstanding of how this business operates and what it actually means to the culture of an area, a community at large, and society at large. The local scene is what breeds enjoyment and appreciation of live music in the first place. And it's a big business. It's a much bigger business than is purported. People love to complain about, make noise complaints about venues and whatever, but they seem to not care when a television show shuts down their street for a week. And meanwhile, that's more intrusive, and the music is much better for the local economy. It wasn't hard to book a show before the pandemic. We've had many, many bands play here that are now quite famous. We've had many, many bands play here that were famous and now have made their way back down to playing, 250 plus rooms, It was always like a good atmosphere upstairs. I feel like we had a really eclectic sort of booking strategy. There's definitely always a lot of indie and a lot of metal and a lot of just like straight up rock and roll. And you know, we used to have hip hop acts. And anybody, it was a very open forum for people to play. That's gone now too, and now we don't even know for how long. We were doing live streams. We're trying to do a little bit with that now, but certainly not what the future should be like for music. You should be able to experience it in person. And I hope we get to that point again, because that's the best way to really consume that. That energy can only exist in person. You know, I want to have people in the room again, and I don't want them in bubble suits. I don't want them anything like that. I don't mind people all wearing masks. Ain't nothing wrong with that. I wear one for pretty much 15 hours a day. It's not hard. The most popular dishes are any variety of the nachos, fajitas, and then chicken wings. Part of our process is the fact that we make pretty much as many of the things as we can here, and that homemade quality comes through. So many of the dishes are like a part of our lives. An example of that is when we created avocado spring rolls, and we make them in-house. And it's literally a family affair when we make them, because it's like my dad, both of his brothers, their wives, one of my dad's best friends who I call like an uncle, and like a couple of other people. So it's like 8 or 9 people of them in the prep kitchen in the basement as like an assembly line making avocado spring rolls. And it's like they play their music and they laugh and they joke around. You know, now as a result of COVID, even that process is gone. We make them in stages and people don't work together anymore. And that whole like togetherness that we used to have as like an aspect of all of the things that we made has sort of disintegrated. Now it's all very compartmentalized and like a real factory in a way, where we make one part of it, we put it away, and then somebody else comes and continues it. And that's just the way we do things now. For now. It's not a preferred method of doing because we lose that connection with people. In terms of like music and arts and culture, they always find ways to rebound, and I feel like that it can morph into something new and be delivered to people in a new way. But I don't see how that's gonna happen right now in the climate that we live in. In terms of restaurants, I'm way more pessimistic, because independents and mom and pops are gonna have a very difficult time surviving, especially without indoor dining, especially without, with the government cutting back on assistance to people. Barring any sort of heavy-handed government assistance, they should just give businesses money to close down, and they should force landlords to stop exacting, rent as tribute essentially at this point, because they're holding people hostage. People can save a little bit of money for themselves, but they're putting everything they got back into paying rent on businesses where they're earning nothing. It's very dire. Whereas if you're in a restaurant that's part of a chain or a small group of, restaurateurs or whatever, you can use one in one neighborhood that can help pay off the rest. Those people will be fine. And there's a lot of money behind them. Or if they close a chain, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if they close down, every Starbucks on College Street. But I'll be upset if the guy across the street closes his coffee shop and that guy down the street closes his, and then the girl down on Dundas closes hers. I'll be very upset, because those are people that are part of the fabric of the community. This is the shit here. This is years, and this is like a testament to how many people have been here. Believe it or not, this has been painted over several times. But we always leave the good stuff. You can check out the washrooms. If you look up on Instagram #SneakyD's washrooms, there's thousands of pictures. And this is like the classic spot for the selfies. Men and women come in here for the to do the selfies. Get the urinals in the background, they get all the graffiti, it's all good. Everything you want out of a public washroom. You know, it's funny because like graffiti in bathrooms is a thing that we used to, I mean, it was the thing that most places don't want at all. And ours, it's like we couldn't wait after we renovated the washrooms, we couldn't wait for people to fucking mark them up again because it was disastrous. This is like our reputation's on the line. But we had to renovate. I had a lot of economic anxiety. I still do. My anxiety never really came from fear of Corona, but only because you just follow what they tell you and you keep yourself safe and you're fine. Like, I understand that it's not that simple, but if you're young and healthy and you listen to health professionals, you should be okay. And if you're not, well, then you're unlucky. But economic anxiety is something that they can help you with, that could have been helped from the beginning. And I feel like that's really what had morale really low in the early days. And that's what made people scared and very edgy. We didn't know if we were able to pay our bills. We wouldn't know if we were able to cover payroll. It was very difficult. But after about 4 or 5 weeks of what we were doing on a scaled down version, the handful of people that were still working here felt much more comfortable coming into work every day. We were safe. We were taking all the precautions in the world. Everything public health told us to do, we did. People got very enthusiastic and optimistic when things started opening up. We thought that it might be over. And when I say over, we didn't think that there was going to be a regression back. It was just mask mandates and whatever you got to follow, and put up some plexiglass and separate your tables, and dining inside is going to be all right. And then there won't be like a scale back of that, and everything is going to go fine. This lockdown, this temporary 28-day shenanigans, was far more demoralizing because we did everything right and we are still being punished for what a lot of irresponsible people were doing that are just a reflection of our business and had no tie to our business at all. If somebody has a rat infestation in East York, they're not going to close down every restaurant in Toronto. It doesn't make sense. I get the public health aspect of it. If that is the case, compensate us appropriately, get rid of everybody's economic anxiety. We'll all play ball. We'll all play ball.